Some 600 years ago, a Zen monk and his master were sitting in their garden. The little monk was reading to the master the scriptures from the Bible, various parts of it. And then he got to a very interesting one, the Beatitudes. So after reading a few of those Beatitudes to him, he asked him to carry on and keep reading. At the end of the Beatitudes, the master looked at the monk and said, "Whoever read that, whoever taught that, whoever said that has to be enlightened." They are very enlightened, and it is true. The Beatitudes are an incredible teaching. And when you start to listen to the Beatitudes from our Western point of view, they're missed. We'll never understand them. But I'm going to try to shed some light on them because they are very much the blueprint of spiritual awakening. To the average person, to the pedestrian mentality, none of the Beatitudes make any sense at all. Our words, our culture does not support the Beatitudes. You have to understand that Jesus spoke in idioms. You have to also understand that as he spoke, his language was very small. He had this much to work with. In our Western vocabulary, we've got that. He had that much to work with. So he had to talk in idioms, saying things like, don't pull my leg, or you'll poke your eye out, or, born with a golden spoon in your mouth. These are little idioms. And Jesus spoke in this way. But more importantly, and what you must understand, Jesus was speaking in a code. He was speaking in an ebb and a flow of a teaching that only certain ears can hear. These are the ears of consciousness. And it's for those people who are seeking consciousness, who feel something quite profound inside, much deeper than what they believe in and what they think about, that can understand the Beatitudes and appreciate them. They are a lost cause, they are a lost art, and for most people, they're just confusing and they don't relate to them at all. But when you start getting into the Beatitudes and understanding just ever so slightly what they're all about, and I'm going to present that to you, you might have a new appreciation for what it means to work upon yourself. Most people do not see the need to work upon themselves. Spiritual work doesn't matter to the populace. Most people, 90%, maybe more, could care less about this. How do these Beatitudes relate to me? Before we did the filming of these programs, I was asked to do what I do every year. I go to the local high school and I am asked to present an alternative point of view about philosophy, religion, and psychology, which I do. And I asked about 50 of the students who were there, have you ever heard of the Sermon on the Mount? Nobody raised their hands. I don't know if they were just afraid to, but no one raised their hands. And then when I asked them, have you ever heard of the Beatitudes? No one raised their hands. In fact, I doubt if many of you watching this program right now have ever read the Beatitudes on your own. Maybe somebody read them to you, but you never pursued them on your own. And if you did, you might find yourself very confused by them, because the idioms in them, the first one, blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven, is very strange to us. Nobody wakes up in the morning and thinks, wow, it's a great day to feel poor in spirit. People don't understand the nature of his teachings, and I just want to say this as we go along in these teachings. We are talking about the blueprint to spiritual awakening. These Beatitudes are a blueprint for how it is done, actual steps that you must take if you are to awaken. They are not going to be swallowed easily. Your intellect, your ego, your pride, your vanity are all at stake here. And this is why a lot of people can't understand the language of the Beatitudes, because Jesus is not talking about them as a Western culture kind of thing. He wasn't sitting there going, well, this isn't going to translate well. This poor in spirit thing isn't going to translate well in, 2,000, 3,000 years. He isn't thinking in terms like that. We have to do the decoding. We are the ones that have to get into the frame of consciousness, not the frame of mind, but the frame of consciousness, to be able to hear what is truly being said and not interpret it. And that's where a lot of us go wrong. The Beatitudes are not to be interpreted. They are obvious. And once they are deeply understood, not in the intellect, but by the heart, once you start to hear them and how they awaken the heart, that is when you're going to know how to listen to them, how to sit within yourself, and how to posture your attention so you can hear the Beatitudes. And I'm just going to say this right off the bat. If you don't meditate, if you don't work upon yourself through meditation, watching your breath, you are not maybe comfortable with deep silence or having a mind that is no longer seeking to argue and fight with itself about what's right and wrong, good and bad, you're going to have some difficulty with the Beatitudes. So be patient. It's more than worth listening to and more than worth understanding. I hope you found the uniqueness of my message here on Aspire and that you will help sustain our effort both on radio and here on TV to keep Aspire on the air, to keep it serving humankind. We need your sponsorship to do this. Your sponsorship is what allows us to be here and to serve humankind the way we do. If you're interested, go to the website at aspire.org and go take a look at support. I deeply appreciate it. Now back to Aspire. So before we get very deep into this, one has to ask oneself the question, why would I even bother to read the Beatitudes? You have to be in an inner posture, in an inner place, where you are done with the frivolous, where you are looking at your life, not from the point of view of how much do I want, how can I get what I want. I listen to ministers teach and talk about how to help people solve their problems. The Beatitudes are not here to solve problems. They are not a sermon. A sermon, defined, is a speech on conduct and duty. That is not what the Beatitudes are all about. These are a blueprint, as I said to you, in code to tell us how to spiritually awaken. It is not about being a good person. It's not about getting what we want. It's not about living a more comfortable life. In fact, if anything, it's going to make your life a little uncomfortable because you're going to be doing and living and breathing in a different way, totally different. Spiritual awakening is not something that's on most people's minds. Let's face it. Most people don't even know what spiritual awakening is. I can't define that for you because it's different for every single person, but I will tell you this, that the veil that you see on human mind, how you think, the way you evaluate things and judge things, the way the mind is always in conflict with itself, the depth of our emotionality and how far it goes and how we congregate emotions and create such pain and sorrow for ourselves through our emotionality, that eventually, in one life or another, a person has to ask themselves, what am I putting myself through? What is this all about? People want changes in their life, but they try to make those changes on the outside. The Beatitudes are what are changing on the inside. It's an inner work. Now, I don't want to get into the Jesus thing. I don't think it's important. Whether or not he spoke these words or Herman Munster did wouldn't matter at all. The fact of the matter is that if you really listen to them beyond the idea of the personality of the man Jesus, beyond his intellect or cultural differences that he had with Rome and the people of his day, even cultural differences that he has with us now, you could get caught up in a bunch of stuff that just didn't matter. What you must begin to understand is what does matter. He is presenting to you and me and anyone who can hear what he is teaching beyond the pedestrian mentality, the chance to have the direct experience of consciousness. Consciousness is where the mind works, but not in thought. where your mind is aware, but it is not thinking. It is recognizing the obvious. And as it recognizes the obvious, there's no need for a mind in conflict with itself about comparing, oh, this thought with this thought, or thinking that 2 and 2 make 4, it's logical and reasonable. If you think in those terms, you will never understand the blueprint that is being given to us. You will never understand the nature of the Beatitudes. And that is a tragic thing. Everybody's looking for answers to their lives when those answers really are within us as individuals. Although we are always looking for those answers outside of us, the true answer lives inside. And what if I were to tell you that that true answer, or whatever it is you're seeking, has nothing to do with your life? That your life is more than meat and the body more than raiment, and that you're looking in all the wrong places for what it is that you're really here for on this earth. People don't know why they're here, so they just make up reasons why they're here. They come and say, oh, it's family, or it's friends, or it's money, or it's power, or it's prestige. And none of those things are correct. Those are the things that make us very wealthy in the world, but very poor within. We don't have the inner resources to understand the depth of what we're here for. You're not here to survive, and you're not here to be happy, and you're not here to get everything you ever wanted. You are here to know the truth, the real truth, and it isn't in a thought, it isn't in some teaching that somebody tells you to believe in and you repeat. It isn't in words. It's in the unwords. It's in the speechless. It's in the unspoken. It's in that gap and that pause and that space between our thoughts, where everything that is important exists. Most people live to get what they want. I say, live for those things that you can take with you through death. The Beatitudes. We're going to start with, blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. And we're going to look at it not from the point of view of our rational mind, which would miss the entire meaning of that, but we're going to be looking at it from the essence of understanding, true understanding, that has nothing to do with logic, reasoning, or right and wrong. If you didn't get everything I was talking about here on the program, you can download the whole series from the website at aspire.org. And for those of you who are sponsors, you can download them for free. The donation for them goes to purchase more airtime of our radio and our TV program, and it is considered, as I said, a donation. Order yours today, and if you're a sponsor, download them right away. Thanks for watching. Now back to Aspire. Okay, let's get into the first beatitude. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. What is he talking about? The minute you say poor to an audience of Westerners, they're going to be shaking their heads saying, no way do I want to do that. What is he talking about? It's one word, it's real simple, humility. And the more humble we can become, the more we will understand what our mind cannot think. And in understanding what our mind cannot think, we come to the place where the kingdom of heaven, which is consciousness, the state of consciousness, can access us. I said access us, where it can reach me beyond the idea of a Gregory, or beyond the idea of having a you, a me, or an I, which is something that we cling to. The whole idea that you and I like to believe that we're a person is very limiting. In inner work, what we're trying to do is understand there is no need for the conflict that makes me, I, and you. We're understanding the nature of consciousness a little bit. Now, this wipes out most of the people who would read the Beatitudes. They couldn't go any further because everybody is trying to perfect the me and I and you attitude, or identity thing that we have going on, and it's all about our emotionality and how to be emotional. The only reason you have a me and I or a you is because of the nature of the emotions that you have congregated through your genetics. It is your genetics that define the idea of a self. And what Jesus is talking about is going beyond that. To be so humble, to be poor, meaning not to want to have things our way, or to understand things our way, or to believe in things the way we can think of them based on emotionality. Your and my genetics define us, and that's the sad part about it. A spiritual practice, an authentic one, is about going beyond genetics, beyond DNA. It is about stepping back from the emotionality that we have to go so far inside, so far away, I should say, from our emotionality, that we're actually no longer interested in what our mind is telling us about who and what we are. If you look at it, from the moment you go to sleep at night and even during the night, and the moment you wake up and go through your day, your genetics, your emotionality is defining everything you do. It's defining who you are. People like to think they're free, but they're not. As long as I stay in my genetic heart, my human heart, I am not going to be able to understand the nature of love. I'm not going to be able to understand the nature of why I'm here. A lot of people don't care why they're here. The whole idea for most people is you live for a while, 60, 70 years, then it's lights out and who cares what happens. I'll pay the price if there is one then. And that's the mentality we're living with now, the X generation, the millennials. We're looking at all sorts of changes in our world that are so far away from the spiritual that we miss. We know philosophy, we know systems of belief, and Jesus is saying the poor in spirit don't have that. The poor in spirit don't live in that. You think you're on a spiritual path? Really? You think you want to be on one? Really? Then you would have to give up everything you believe in, everything you pride yourself on, all the need for the attaboys, and become so simple, where simplicity was more important to you than the complexity of your emotions telling you what philosophy most aggrandizes your philosophies. We're not here to be believers. We're here to believe in nothing, no thing, nothing my mind can think. Jesus said something in the Gnostic Gospels that I always thought was rather amazing. He said, "It is a miracle that such great wealth has made its home in such poverty." We are that poverty. No matter how much money we have, or how comfortable we believe ourselves to be, or how smart we think we are, or how knowledgeable we are, it doesn't matter. You can't take those things with you through death. The only thing that you can take with you is your heart, the love that you achieve here on this earthly experience. So when you think in terms of blessed are the poor in spirit, we're talking about the greatest humility that a human being can feel. It is the humility of not wanting more than what is. It is the humility that allows you to meditate and to experience that pause, that gap, that space between your thoughts. It is that gap, that emptiness, that unspokenness that is the kingdom of heaven that he was talking about. Not a place you go to after you die. These Beatitudes are not here to make you special, but to make you and I simple. And if you are prone to simplicity, you will be prone to consciousness and you will discover it. We're pretty smart people. We found all sorts of ways to destroy ourselves and our lives. But Jesus, in these Beatitudes, is offering us a way of finding what he used to call the living waters within us. Thank you for watching. Forgive me. Namaste.